Listen, David might call himself Oreo baddest, but if we really talk about it, I feel like the title belongs to the one and only Mr. Jim Ike. So welcome back to another episode of How I Would Brand Them and thousands to the 2010s. And if you have any actors that you want to see in these series, actors, actresses, let me know down below and make sure you are subscribed so you can actually see when I upload them. So of course today we're talking about Jimmy, baby, Jimmy. Thinking of Dream Girls. And we're going to delve deeper into world building, persona, branding, and of course, how this relates to you. And when it comes to world building, I feel like a key element in what helped create the icon that is Jim Ike in his legendary Nollywood roles is the fact that his outfits were always so distinct and the fact that he often portrayed the bad boy. He is Nollywood's bad boy, like I said. And something that I found really interesting was the fact that early on in his career, I'm not sure if this continued as he became more established, but he was actually responsible for creating these looks. I would say he's one of the icons of Y2K fashion for men, at least from Nigeria. So it was always like the hat, very funky hat. We've been there, we've done that, we see right through your funky hat. And then it was like baggy tee or a jersey. And I actually saw a comment, someone said that I don't remember J. Mike movies. All I remember is that he was always coming back from the States. So he definitely had that Y2K American look going on for sure. So it'd be the American football jerseys and yeah, baggy jeans, just really ultra cool look. And the fact that he was willing to invest majority of his income into creating the looks because he wasn't satisfied with what the costume directors gave him, at least in the start of the career, shows me and shows us how it's so important to invest in developing your brand. Just because you're starting out doesn't mean you can't invest something. And that's something I've had to overcome myself. And that might be something you have to overcome, feeling the nerves to actually put money down into something that might be deemed as superficial. But in actuality, I have spoken about this before in my video on Beyonce. Style is really powerful in helping to create a meaning and a message to other people instantly because as you can see from these frames here, when you look at him, you know exactly what kind of character he's creating. It's building a world in your head. And same thing as I said with Beyonce, when it came to her Renaissance tour and so on and so forth, it helped create a narrative around her that she is self-actualized. And that is one of the highest forms of self-love and probably the pinnacle of humanity to be self-actualized. So yeah, invest in your look. Don't deem it as something that's superficial or shallow or stupid. If you have a clear message that you want to send out to the world, your look is the first thing that people will see. And even if it's not just looks, of course, or your clothing, don't be scared to invest in yourself when it comes to whether it be mentoring or it be books, as you can see normally behind me. I have a lot of books that I've bought. Even watching videos like this is you invest in yourself. Deem yourself as worthy as someone who's worth being invested in. And I feel like God and life will reward you and show that your efforts will always reap benefits. So comment down below if this has helped you in any way. And so if we delve deeper into what the world created, it created the persona of the ultimate bad boy, mischievous, the rebel. And with being a rebel, I would say he was often quite bad tempered or hot tempered, I would say. And this showed us that he wasn't necessarily afraid to rock the boat. And I feel like he played this character or these characters so well because when it came to his real life, he also had to be a rebel when it meant pursuing his career goals and his dreams. He was, I guess, like an A-star student or honor roll student. I don't know what term you would use depending on where you're watching from, but he was a high achieving student. His family believed him to be the academic type, but then he felt the urge or the calling to actually pursue acting. And so he rebelled against his family. And even in that, that's something I can resonate with in some sense because I've never really had the support of my parents in wanting me to pursue entrepreneurship. But if you have a calling for your life, you need to pursue it because at the end of the day, you are the one that's going to live your life. And so I think the best kind of bad boys or bad people are the ones that aren't just bad for the sake of being bad. It's being bad because you're actually standing on business, as we used to say, like standing on your values, having integrity. So yeah, that's ultimately what makes us rally behind the bad boy. And I think everyone wishes they could have a, well, if you're not a bad boy or a bad girl, I think the reason why the movies always portray the girls longing and pining after bad boys because they have this like hero instinct of actually going after what they want. So that's really powerful. And now we've built this powerful brand around him. Nigeria loves him, UK loves him, America loves him, Argentina loves him, everybody loves Jim Ike. Everybody wants a piece of Jim Ike. So these are the kind of brands and products that I would align him with. It's not Pepsi, but all the cool kids drink cans, okay? I feel like he should have definitely had a sponsorship with a drink company, a fizzy drink company such as Pepsi. And I do feel like Pepsi likes to position himself as being the cool kids drink. They've had some hit and misses with their adverts. Particularly, I'm thinking about the Kendall Jenner advert. Fail, absolute fail. But I remember like the Michael Jackson advert. Some iconic moments, whether it be good or bad. So that also aligns with the whole bad boy persona that Jim Ike gives off from the majority of his roles. And then, of course, a classic leather jacket, some type of clothing, because as I just mentioned, he invested in his clothing. He knows the power of apparel. And as someone who's a fashion designer myself, I rate that, okay? So I could definitely see him working with someone like All Saints, or even if it was a high street retailer just advertising their younger line. I remember when companies like New Look used to have, is it 915? Yeah, for basically the Gen Z or whatever. And yeah, companies like All Saints, whether it be designer or other normal retailers, but with their more edgier looks, I would say that would be something that'd be amazing for him. And finally, brands that are avant-garde, brands that are ahead of the time, such as Apple. And you can debate this whether or not they're ahead of the time or just copied Samsung. But to the majority of people, especially the concept of the touchscreen of the iPhone and the iPod, it was innovative. It was cool. And being the bad boy is all about being cool, being ahead of the trend, or being the trend leader. Even if you didn't create the trend, you ride it well and you ride it better than anyone else. And that's why people want to follow you. So these are some missed opportunities that brands had for not working with the likes of Jim Ike. But this is how I would have positioned him. Let me know down below what other brands you feel like would align well with his image and persona. And if you are someone that struggles with actually figuring out what brands or opportunities would work best with you, I do offer one-on-one coaching, so make sure you check out the links below. So now if we talk about present day evolution of Jim Ike, he still has that bad boy element in him. And that's why we love him, you know? Like I said, he is the rule breaker, the risk taker in and out of the movies. And so if we talk about branding in terms of continuing to build that world around him, I would love to see him in movies similar to like The Godfather. I don't know if there's like a Nigerian equivalent of The Godfather, but even if you just called it like the Nigerian Godfather, like just do a remake. Hollywood is full of remakes, okay? Most stories have been told before. Nothing is new under the sun, anyways. So yeah, I would just love to see him step into a role like this to further establish his dominance as Nigeria's top bad boy. And then if we also talk about how he has evolved now, with the books that he's released, with the interviews he's done, I would say, honestly, before doing my research, I actually kind of underestimated him a little bit. I just saw him for the persona, for the character. But when you actually delve into Jim Ike, you see the man and you realize how wise he is. And I say that with deep reverence because I feel like wisdom is rare. And so with his book series that he released, it was, I believe, 25 different volumes. Don't quote me on the number, but it was just a series of different life lessons. And honestly, I love that so much. So just delving from that ideology of being a deep thinker and wanting to share his wisdom, I feel like a potential brand or business venture that would work well for him would be the private gentlemen's club where men can actually discuss and exchange ideas, network, and become powerful together. Because he also directly accredits, his career success to some of the mentors and friends that he made along the way. So how great would that be to carry that forward onto the next generation? And maybe it could just be the next generation of actors, or I'm not sure, this idea isn't fully fledged, but some type of private members club would align really well with his new image. And as an older person, I think sometimes we neglect the gift of wisdom and we don't see it as something that has market value. But if you are watching and you don't feel like you have any skills or any talent apart from your wisdom, you can still make a brand out of that for yourself. The sky is the limit, and wisdom is one of the greatest things you can ever get. That's what the good book said, and I believe it. So yeah, there are so many ways to make wisdom a part of your brand. So if you're struggling, like I said, make sure you check out the links below and I will be more than happy to help you if I can. And so now if we bring it back to the other kind of movies he creates to also build a new world around him, because as much as we love the bad boy, we also want some depth and some variety. So here you'll see I do have obviously Bad Boys for Life. I would love to see him in a movie with the likes of Peter Ducci. They were two characters that often were put together movies. They had great movie chemistry. So again, like a Nigerian equivalent of Bad Boys for Life would just be awesome. And then I would also like to see him reprise the roles of more, I guess, fatherly figures. Well, for instance, like I said, The Godfather of One. Then we have My Wife and Kids, a running series with him in this kind of family dynamic, and it's just humor would be absolutely hilarious. And I would just love to see that. And then we have the movie The Father. This is a more serious, melodramatic movie. And I believe the synopsis is something along the lines of a father who loses dementia, wow. A father who loses his memory due to dementia, and I believe that's his child that's trying to help him out. So seeing him tackle on issues with mental health, especially how in society men are often plagued with poorer mental health and not enough support. So just touching on these deeper and profound topics would be amazing and continuing to add to that diversity to his body of work. And I believe he's doing that. I would just like to see more. So this is just a couple of ideas. So with this, how you can apply this to you is don't be scared to go outside of the box. Yes, you might have built up a legacy as someone who has a specific lane, but there's ways for that lane to evolve. As I've said with him, he can go from being the bad boy to the ultimate pin lynch or the ultimate king, or you can go from being the bad boy to the loving father. I just think it's always good to expand your horizons. And if you're looking for a way to find a direction, or you don't know how to piece the different parts of yourself, like I said, I have links down below if you need any branding consultancy. I offer 3-month packages just to start, so you can apply down below if you are interested. And final words for our beloved Jim Ike. I would say you are intelligent far beyond words, a risk taker in the truest sense, and I'm so glad you decided to bet on yourself. Without that risk, the world would not have had the chance to get to know and to love the one and only legendary bad boy for life, Jim Ike. So yeah, comment down below what you found most inspiring about this episode. I was definitely inspired when I was doing my research. Let me know if you knew about the fact that he used to invest in his own wardrobe, because I definitely didn't. And let me know if you're willing to bet on yourself and be more dedicated to your craft, because you should be, We only have one life as far as we know, so might as well take a chance, take a risk, and bet on yourself. And most importantly, if you've made it this far and you haven't hit subscribe, get out of my house. Just get out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I've loved doing this video. And like I said, if you have any more actors that you want to see, let me know down below. And I will see you in the next one. And of course, as usual, to God be the glory.